Hello, welcome back to the channel. Today I thought I'd do something very different for a long time. In the old days I used to do this sort of stuff all the time, but since I've been in the strange space of talking about what's going on in the world and finding things out and what have you, I've been very much doing my monologues, just sat down and you know, spouting stuff, and then I've done the interviews, as you know, and people have sent me emails and they've been in touch and they've told me things, and I've tried to share those things, and that still goes on. But every now and again, well, certainly now I'm beginning to want to do just something different, to talk to you in a slightly different way, in a more natural way. Now, as you can see, I'm in my kitchen, and I talk about food a lot, don't I? So I thought I'm going to prepare my dinner while I'm talking to you. It's actually mine and the lovely Julia's dinner. She's not here at the moment. I've got to go and pick her up. Her car is having its MOT done so that it's allowed to go on the road and all that sort of thing. So what am I going to cook? Well, I'm going to do, I know the sun has been shining, but one of my favourite things, and so easy, and I thought it's worth sharing to people who perhaps are tempted to go to the supermarket and just get something to shove in the microwave, that actually you can have quite easy prepare food that's very nutritious and very good for you without too much bother. Okay, it's not quite take it out of the packet and put it in the microwave, but it has a lot more nutrients and it's a lot more tasty. And if you're going to eat something, in my opinion, such as it is, you might as well have something tasty. So I'm going to do a casserole with some braised steak. So let me just open this. This is out of my freezer. And I'm not going to spend too much time doing close-ups and sumptuous shots and things. If you want that sort of thing, watch the lambing video that we've done recently down in Devon. I think it's going to be either on a premiere or it'll be a video coming up soon. I haven't quite worked out what I'm doing with it. I have this funny issue with YouTube, in as much as I have a license for music off a music library to put on. A lot of YouTubers do that. I haven't done it for a long, long time. And I've uploaded it and YouTube said, oh, this is copyright music. It's like, yeah, I know that, and I've got a license for it, and you know I've got a license for it because I've done it and used it in the past. And they don't really understand. So I'm going to take some frozen braised steak. What I love about this is you can just get on and do it very easily. One thing I forgot to do, and I've got to just nip off camera, and that is gather some water, which I'm doing in a... For this, I'm just using a jug. Here it is. I'm just going to... It just needs to filter out, so I'm going to shove it over there. Sorry about that. A little bit of dead air there, dead space. I don't know whether we're allowed to do that on YouTube. So I'm using up basically the veg that I've got around. So I'm going to put some potatoes in it, which I'm going to peel. I've got some carrots, I've got a bit of cabbage, some onions and some spices and stock. So that's what I'm going to be doing as I talk to you. It's not so much about the meal itself, but you know, it's easy to sit in the chair, isn't it, and just sort of spout opinions. But I do think it's nice to actually see people doing what they say they do. And very often it's very easy to sort of hide either behind the camera or just sitting there and not really showing very much stuff. And I think it's important to live by what you say. And as much as I can, you know, I have various ideas and opinions and things, and I think it's just important to try and live up to what you say. That's the wrong knife. Try that one. There we go. So very easy. It's so easy. We do this quite a lot, actually. I mean, it's great in the winter months, of course, to do this. A few potatoes, maybe one more. I've been talking about food. I've been reading. This is a book that Helen, one of my viewers, sent in. It's called Execution by Hunger: The Hidden Holocaust. And it's 100 years ago during Stalin's reign, and it's a first-person account of the collectivization of farms in the Ukraine. And it's just, when you read that and you realise we think we're having troubles at the moment, and we're talking about food security and all this. We talk about the water being polluted and the air being polluted. But the amount of propaganda and the oppression that went through people in the past, I think is just well, it's not only is it sort of disgraceful, but it's just so frightening that people could do that and behave that way to one another. I'm not bothering to take the skins off these carrots, which I'm just dicing. You can't really see what I'm doing. I think that was the potatoes. Just shove them on the floor for the moment. And I think. Oh yes. I mean, I've washed. Well, have I washed them? I don't think I have washed them. These are all organic, so it's nice to have a few organic things. A little bit of dirt's not going to hurt me. We bung it in. It's nice and quick, and it just tastes delicious. I think some people get a little bit too worried with all the bacterial sprays and everything that they need. Now, of course, I'm putting myself on the line a bit here, because people will immediately judge me and say, oh, that's not how you do it. You've got to do it this way, and if you're not doing it right. This is a little bit of celery, which I do enjoy. Shove a bit of that in. My onions are a little small, actually, so I'm going to stick those in. Yeah, so I'm not terribly far in with that, about a fifth at the moment, but golly, normally I don't read many stuff that's outside this country, because I find it hard to resonate with it or understand it. But this was sent to me, and I looked at the book and I thought to myself, I'm not sure I'm going to enjoy that. Also, I don't like to read about people's suffering and things, but I have to say, the writer, who is someone called Miran Dolot or something, very interesting writer. That's his pen name, and as I say, that was published in 1985, I think. He was a victim of this, and so it gives it great authenticity. So anyway, these poor people, the advantage that the authorities had there were that they not only were they were farmers, and not only were they poor, but they were also out in the middle of nowhere on their farms, quite happy. Didn't have a lot of money, seems to be quite happy, and but the disadvantage. So they had their community, and they would meet and dance and knew everybody, and life was great, even though they didn't have flash cars and all the Netflix accounts and things like that. But they had each other, and they could depend on each other, and they helped each other. They sang and all those things. But the one thing that they didn't have back then that we have is they really didn't have very much in the way of communication. And the propagandists, the collectivists, when they moved in, the authority put in a telephone into the village. They'd never seen a telephone. They'd heard about them, but they'd never seen them. And funnily enough, it reminded me back other books that I like to read about the 1930s in Sussex, where I'm based, or some of the farming books. And back then, telephones were just, in the realm of the rich. And electricity was just coming on stream. And they still had gas lighting at the time. I'm just going to bung a bit of water in there. And I'll put it on the hob, and away it will go. Is there anything else? A bit of cabbage. I'm going to put a bit of cabbage in there. So I always find that quite fascinating, because here we are being told now, oh, you've got to have a smart meter and all of this. And I am actually I mentioned this in a video the other day, I'm actually considering saying to the electric supplier, if they are going to force a smart meter on, which I don't want. I don't want radiation coming out there, thanks very much. I'm just going to say to them, am I obliged, a little bit of Celtic sea salt here, am I actually obliged to have electricity? I'm not obliged. You can't force me to have your electricity. Why should I? Tiny little bit of black pepper. I like black pepper, but Julia's not so keen, so I'll just put a tiny bit in. and one of these organic beef stocks. I won't bother to give the brand away, but we do try and get that, crumble that in. And then, basically I put it on the hob for a bit, and then once the meat is thawed, it just goes in the oven, and I don't have to think about it. You see how quick that was? Now, sometimes I've got peppers. I haven't got any peppers, red peppers. I'll put some of those in, other things. And I've got here some garlic. What else have we got? Some garlic granules. Yeah, how much is in there? Not very many. We'll put some of those in. Give it a bit of extra oomph. What else have I got? I mean, I haven't got a huge amount of stuff, but that's onion granules, I think. And sometimes there's a bit of celery salt. I never really know what celery salt is, but Julia always says it's good, so I shove it in. And some mixed herbs. Bung a bit of those in. That's quite a lot, but there we are. And that's it. That's it. So, because it's frozen, it will obviously take a little bit longer. I don't know how much water I've got in there. I might need a bit more water. But I'll wash all that down with a bit of water. And of course, there's water in the veg. And then that makes its own gravy, you see, and it'll be delicious. I can tell you, it will be delicious. So that'll go on the thing. I don't know how long that's taken. You'll be able to look at the timeline to see how long it's taken. Give that 45 minutes to an hour, and there you go. Now, people will tell me I've completely done it wrong. They'll say to add all sorts of other bits and pieces, but it really depends what you've got. So can I survive? I mentioned this, as I say, in a video. Can I survive without electricity? Well, you can buy a solar panel for the roof, can't you? The things I couldn't do is the washing machine and the fridge freezer. So if anyone's got any tips on how I can do that, I have my wood burning stove, which is my Essie. It heats the water on the pipes. It goes round. I put that in myself with a friend, and I can dry the washing. They hang up in the ceiling here, and they just dry. I don't use a tumble dryer or anything like that. What else do I do? I bathe in the water. It heats the house and it cooks the food. And I buy the logs locally from a chap who lives 3 miles away, up on the South Downs, and he has a contract with an estate to get rid of the trees that have to come down, like ash dieback trees and various other trees. And he's a great friend now, and we have good old chats when he delivers the logs, and I love it. And I go out there and I chop the logs, and it's a respect really for the whole process of eating, which sustains us. And generally, I only eat once a day. I might have a bit of toast. Rarely, that'd be sourdough, but that's quite rare because I'll only buy perhaps one loaf a week. I don't eat a lot of bread. Try to eat as little wheat products as possible. Occasionally, as you can see, I've got some dates and some nuts and things, so I might have a nibble on those throughout the day, maybe a bit of cheese, and of course, a glass of raw milk. Always good. So that's what I do. Yes, hunger and food security is very important, but I think, they say stock up and they say we're going to get food shortages and all of this, but actually I am really reassured by the amount of people who are growing stuff all over the place. And I don't want to scare people anymore. I found the whole truth, freedom, sovereignty movement really was edged on scaring people. And I dare say this won't get very many views because people want to watch the news. They want to be scared. They want to be frightened. I don't want to be frightened. I don't watch it anymore. And I have asked people not to send me the scary stuff all the time. I think we're coming into a phase where we're beginning to understand ourselves a little bit better. And I think we've had to go through all of this tyranny, and we will be coming out of it the other end, I'm absolutely sure. But one of the things that's important, I think, for people is to understand not only where their food comes from, and there's a lambing video to show you, a little bit about husbandry with animals, but also how to cook. And then the important thing is to get your family, if you've got a family, round the table and chat. People hate it, don't they, when you say, look back and they say, oh, but you're looking back with nostalgia. You're looking back to the old days with rose-tinted glasses, and that's not true. It never really was like that. Now, I was born in the 60s. I grew up in the 70s and the 80s and so on. And I know what was true back then. I can't tell you what it was like in the 1930s and before, or even in the 1950s, because my references are all either my parents, who are no longer with me, or my grandparents, or film and, you know, other people that I met, film and television. But it makes a huge difference if you can know how to cook, and you can get your family around you and you break bread instead of kids up in their bedrooms watching screens and talking to complete strangers. You know, we need to engage with ourselves. And I do think if we're going to get new communities and people are going to get together and be holistic and wholesome and all of those things, it really starts at home. It starts with us around our own family being a unit again. And unless we can do that, well, then we've got no hope. And that's why I think, you know, there have been definite policies to break up the family, to scatter us amongst the place. But I don't want to go into that now, because this is supposed to be just a nice, gentle, friendly chat. I think that's empty now, so that can go in. Hey, straight in the bin. Thank you for watching, if you did. If you didn't, and you didn't like this kind of format, or you didn't like me just being a bit more informal, then I'm sorry about that. And if you did, then, you know, let me know, and I'll do a bit more and maybe get Julia in to help me next time. Anyway, thank you for watching, and I will talk to you soon. And look out for the lambing video. It is beautiful. It is nicely shot. You may not like it. You may think it's just a bit self-indulgent and what have you. But it is very lovely. Animals are very photographic, photogenic. So there you are. Anyway, till next time, goodbye. I'm going to put this on the stove.